This is Dennis Raimondi with the Coffee League, found at thecoffeeleague.com. My guest today, Sasa Sestic. He is a former World Barista Champion, 2015, that championship in Seattle, Washington. A tremendous accomplishment. He's had a fascinating life. Born in Bosnia, moved to Serbia, then to Australia. Went to the Olympics on the Australian Olympic team as a handball player. uh, has approached coffee with the same passion and dedication as he was an Olympian, and has accomplished great things in the industry on many levels, both his individual accomplishments and what he has contributed to the coffee industry and coffee culture. Sasha, thank you so very much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Dennis, thank you very much for inviting me. It's my absolute pleasure to talk to you today.
Your story as an immigrant, as somebody that went from one country to another for opportunity, is fascinating in and of itself. So even before coffee, tell us about how you went from Bosnia to Serbia and then eventually to Australia.
It was, I think, chain of unfortunate events. Definitely. So, I lived once in a country called Yugoslavia, which was a part of Serbia, Bosnia, and it's another 7 countries. And so when war started before 90s, we lived in Croatia, and we moved there due to the war because my dad is a Muslim, and my mom is a Muslim, and my dad is Orthodox. So we felt that at that time it was probably not the best for us to be in Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved to Bosnia. But then war started in Bosnia later on as well. And because my parents had a mixed marriage, they did not feel comfortable living there because there was a war between Orthodox people and Muslim people. And my parents are married to each other, so they did not want to take part of any sides.
Right.
So we finally, thankfully to being a handball players, my brother and myself, we finally managed to escape to Serbia and to continue playing European handball there for one of the leading clubs in the country. And then eventually war started in Serbia as well, and this is when we decided that we need to leave, or my parents did. And we've applied to go to several different countries, and we got acceptance of the permanent visa in Australia, which for us was very nice and interesting and attractive for a number of reasons. It's far away, so hopefully we're not going to be involved in any more wars. And secondly, Australia was planning and organizing a European Olympic handball team. So we were hoping that both of us can make it to the Olympic Games. So that's how we ended up in Australia.
Right. Okay, so then you're an Olympian. You moved to a new country, a new continent, and you had tremendous success in your athleticism. And then with that same passion, with that same focus, and anybody that makes it to the Olympics in any sport has to have that to a tremendous degree. You take that and you put it into coffee and the craftsmanship and the art of coffee. How did that transition take place? How did you first enter the world of coffee?
So yeah, 2003 is when I retired from handball. This was my last world championships I played. I was in Portugal, and I've decided to. Prior to that, I've studied hospitality and management, and I've tried, as I was playing handball, I've tried to casually on the weekends or during the night work in different restaurants, just to have a understanding what hospitality is, and different cafes, in the clubs, fine dining restaurants, and eventually I came across the job to work as a barista, and I fell in love with it. I think art of making coffee and preparing the product for customer and seeing people how they enjoyed what I created, for me was really good connection.
But let me ask you about that, Sasha, because there's different aspects to being a barista. One is the actual craftsmanship of making the coffee, and also a barista is somebody who speaks to people, who interacts with people, who seems to enjoy. A good barista enjoys people, understands their psychology. Did you enjoy that part of it as well? The actual interaction with the people. Tell us about it.
To tell you honestly, that was initially the reason why I love being a barista is because I love interacting with the people.
Mm-hmm.
That was I guess, something that kept me going for first 3, 4, 5 years being a barista. Back then, I had no understanding of the flavor. Neither did I taste coffee much.
Mm-hmm.
Neither did I enjoy, drinking cappuccinos or espressos. But I loved talking to people, and I loved, making them happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, in my opinion, that's the base of hospitality. And hospitality that, we're here to make someone else's day a little bit better.
Right.
And I always looked at it that my job is when someone walks in our door, I'd love them to, leave our door with a little bit greater experience than, when they got in.
Great. And then at what point did you have mentors in coffee, in the making of coffee? And then at what point did you decide to really go for it full blast where you wanted to be the world's best barista?
Yeah. So about 4 or 5 years later, I decided to actually go to coffee shows in Sydney and taste and understand what coffee is a little bit more about. So I came across one of the beautiful Ethiopian coffees that I've tasted. And for the first time in my life, I've tasted coffee that reminds me of like tasting fruit. It tasted almost like blueberries.
Wow.
And I was shocked. And I was in a coffee for like 5, 6 years, and I've never tasted that sort of flavor profile in a coffee. And I just could not believe that coffee can taste that good. So I started digging deeper, and I made myself exposed to a lot of different coffee competitions and coffee shows and seminars. And I came across, I guess I can say, my two inspirations at a time that I really looked up to. Mike Dandon, he's the owner of Seven Seeds, a very successful roastery in Melbourne, as well as Jeff Watts from Intelligentsia. I'm sure that a lot of people in USA will know Intelligentsia. And I was really admired by philosophy of both of them because they back then they believed that we need to be, in order to serve better coffees, we need to go to the farms and we need to start understanding coffee as a plant,
right,
as well as a coffee as a cup, in order to be able to have a full control of what we're serving to our customers.
Right. And when did you start going to farms, and what was that experience like for you?
So the very first time I went to Brazil was 2011.
Mm-hmm.
That experience was pretty scary because I had no contacts back then.
Oh,
Good to go see. It wasn't as easy as it is these days. These days you can connect with the people on social media, on Facebook. So I did have one contact that I found on email. So I decided to fly to Brazil. I was waiting for him at the airport for a couple hours. He didn't show up. And back then I was thinking, okay, what do? Do I just catch a flight back to Australia? Or do I wait? Or do I go out? Luckily, he showed up a couple hours later. And that was, I guess, experience with my first trip. But from then onwards, things were easier and easier because on that trip I met a producer from El Salvador that we became friends. And in effect, we've been working with him since then. And then, started traveling to different competitions and different farms. So I guess since 2011, I've been to at least 10 producing countries every year and visited 150 to 200 farmers a year.
Wow.
And I guess that led into myself really understanding why do I love coffee so much and where do I fit in this specialty coffee chain? And being involved with the farmers, improving coffee on a farm level, working with them closely, paying respect to the farmers is something what I love and what I guess love doing. And And I guess this also grew to the point that I've decided to buy my own coffee farms as well.
Mm-hmm.
So today we have a farm in Nicaragua, in Honduras, in Panama as well. And the reason we bought these farms is because we can we can use them as a research and development farms where we processing, we experimenting with the picking, with the processing, with fermentation, with drying, and then when we make successful experiment, we can share these ideas and this knowledge with the local producers.
Mm-hmm. And I know, Sasha, that you are very concerned that the farmers are paid properly and well, and you started an organization called Project Origin. Tell us about that.
So yeah, really, what we've done, like after I won World Barista Championships, I kind of look at it. Before WBC, no one knew who I was, and I was doing the same things before and after WBC. Nothing changed. And suddenly, thankfully, with the title, people have understanding what I do, and a lot of them they I guess enjoy. They like my ethos that we need to support farmers more. So I really wanted to use my power in a good way,
mm-hmm.
And start organizing non-profit auctions, Project Origin auctions for farmers, and that was beautifully accepted in Central America. We've managed to connect so many farmers that had a beautiful coffees, but because they have such a small amount of coffee, they really could not connect with the end buyers. So we brought a lot of buyers from all over the world and the producers as well in their countries. So we can taste their coffees, we can cup, organize the competition similar to Cup of Excellence. And then all of the international buyers can bid on these coffees and purchase them, but more importantly, establish longer-lasting relationship throughout the Project Origin.
Right. Is there a country you enjoy most in terms of coffee farms? Is there an area of the world where you feel the best beans are grown?
I think every area is special for completely different reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward going to all of the countries that we work with. It changes every year. Why? Like, for example, if you ask me for Honduras, I love people there, and people in Honduras inspire me. Every time when I fly to that country, and if I fly there in midnight, I'll have 15, 20 people from one family coming to wait for me at the airport.
Wow!
And these moments are precious.
Right.
And obviously, being able to go to different countries and to be more focused on possibly developing the flavor, more than maybe focus on social aspects.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I can come up with one country that I'm like more than the other one.
Right. They all have their speciality. I want to go back to the World Championship, huge accomplishment. And what was it like for you preparing for that? Did you decide at some point, okay, I'm going to go for the Australian Championship and then for the World Championship? How did that process begin, or that desire come up? And then what was the process like?
Okay. So yeah, well, as you mentioned earlier, I've played sport before. So anything I do in my life,
right,
I look at it as a competition. So even coffee is for me competition. I'm definitely not competing against someone to be better than someone else, but I'm competing to get the best out of myself. And that's and being able to go on competitions in Australia, which I've started competing in 2008, and every year I've learned more. First year I've learned how bad I was, which is okay, and the second year I've learned that I did not really learn much previous year, and I need to change everything what I do. Right. But beauty with the competitions is. I'll go there and I'll get inspired. I'll meet other coffee professionals that they possibly they know better more than myself, and I can learn from them. And after the competition, I'll get a score from judges saying where I've done well, where I've done not so well, and I can use that score sheet to improve for the next year. So yeah, I've been competing for 7 years, and in Australian barista competition, I did make finals for final 3 years, and I came number 3 and number 4. But 2015 was the year when I won Australian comp, which was unbelievable. But it was kind of timing was not on my side because Australian competition was only 3.5 weeks before World Barista Championships, which was not very long time to prepare. But I guess that was not, my campaign was not only 12-month campaign. It was 7 years of competing. And luckily everything, came up very well on that particular day for us to be able to win a comp.
And how did your life and how did your business, how did everything change after you won?
Oh my God, everything changed completely. I've worked and I've tried my best because after WBC, I've definitely got so many doors opened up for me. And this was very exciting part of my life, but also very scary because I could and I did, possibly choose some wrong doors where I should go and what should I do more of. So I think after WBC, I was a little bit lost at the beginning. What do I do? What's my duty now? What do I do next? So several months later, I've organized small origin trip to go to the farms to thank the people on a farm level, to helping me and inspiring me. So I went to Honduras for a couple of days, and I've decided to make some coffees on my farm to local people in the Honduras. And I guess experiencing these moments with them and having so much more following. This is when I got inspired to do these non-profit auctions and to use my title to help the others. And to after Honduras, I flew to Colombia, and I've decided to do my final barista run-through on the farm where my coffee was picked, and I was serving the coffee for people that have picked my coffee. And to me, that was an unbelievably special moment. And these couple of moments that made me wonder, why do the baristas get so much more glory than the producers? And in a way, I'm grateful for what I have. But in a way, I feel responsible that I need to, keep giving back to the communities as much as I possibly can. And keep inspiring them and keep going there and keep connecting these, producers with the customers the best possible way I can. After 2015, I don't think about myself anymore or my company owner. I think I'm trying to see how I can, within my power, help to solve that global issue that we have on the farms.
What are some of the things that can be done by people in the coffee industry? And I'm specifically thinking of some of the real big players, like Intelligentsia, like La Colombe, like Stumptowns, some of the companies that are big and have a lot of resources behind them. What can be done right, and what can be done wrong in regard to the producers?
So, talking about Intelligentsia, I'm being lucky enough that I became really good friend with Jack Watts. I met him 2-3 years ago, and I've told him, hey, I'd love to talk to you. I think Intelligentsia has been serving, in my opinion, as a model, what we should be doing. I know for the fact that the coffee buyers go to see the farmers once a year. They're offering the right prices. They're offering a right advice for producers, how they can get best value out of the coffee. And we just need more of that. There's so much more coffee in the world, and there's so many untouched producers that's producing unbelievably good coffees, but no one knows about it. And also, I think bigger companies are doing great things, but usually bigger companies are connected with bigger producers because of the supply and demand.
Right.
So in order to fill that gap is we need to see how we can connect smaller producers with the smaller coffee roasters.
Right.
So the coffees don't get blended and they, prestige raw beans are sold in the other side of the world, and the value of that particular farm and the producer is communicated in the right way, rather than just being a blended and called regional coffee.
Right. Now, Sasha, tell us about your company, Ona, and how many farms do you source from?
All right, so Ona Coffee is a roasting company. So we roast coffee here in Canberra for Australian market, as well as a little bit of Asia as well. And we also have a coffee shops throughout now Canberra and Sydney. And the sister company of Ona, it's called the Project Origin. So Project Origin sources coffees from 10 countries, approximately 120 producers. And we also own our own coffee farms, as I said, in Nicaragua, Panama, and Honduras. What we do with the Project Origin is we spend, like I was in Ethiopia a few weeks ago only, but we spend a lot of time not only visiting the producers and staying with them, but actually working with the producers on picking, on processing, and on fermentation. So with a lot of these selected producers that we work with, we would taste their coffees and we would see the potential of the coffee, but it's not quite there because of the possibly some practices at the farm level need to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go to the farms, and then if we need to change something, we'll help to when it comes to infrastructure to make these changes. So we would support these projects by paying and financing the projects. And also we would bring our expertise on the farm level and work together with the people on different experiments, so hopefully we can improve the quality.
Right. Now, I wanted to ask you a question on a personal level. You're obviously somebody who is deeply concerned with the people that work for you, and also the people that, like you said, the farmers that produce the coffee. Do you think that your empathy, your feelings for these people, has much to do with your own life and the fact that all the hardships you went through with your family, having to go from Bosnia to Serbia to Australia, being an immigrant and having to start anew, and that you were thankful for the folks that helped you along the way, and that that's helped make up the person you are, so that you have those deep concerns for the people whose lives are affected by the work you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. Like I don't never forget. I cannot forget what's happened. Of course, we forgive everything that has happened in life, and
right.
But these things we cannot forget. They stay in our heads, and I'm very grateful with what I have today. And the reason I have what I have is because of the people in my company that they believe in my vision. Our customers here in Canberra, our producers, and I believe it's in any business. I think anything we do, it's a give and take relationship. And now I feel that this is the time that we can give. Right. And when we have strong relationships, there will be the times that we may not be in that situation, but our farmers, our other people can help us and support us when we have our tough times.
Right.
That's how we've survived back with the war, and I think it's the great analogy, and I think it's a beautiful way to do business because with this way, we're not just making a business, we're making a friends.
Right.
And it's for me, when I go and see our farms, I don't go and see a business partner, I go and see my friend.
Right.
Or my,
I think you set a great example for others, and especially others listening to this that want to come into this industry. One last area I want to get into you with you, Sasha, and that is a movie was made, a documentary about you called I believe it's called The Coffee Man. I saw the trailer. I cannot wait to see the movie. Tell us a little bit about this film.
Yeah, so movie is another long, interesting story. So I was approached by Jeff and Roland, two very talented movie makers, to go with me to Ethiopia to see what happens there. What happens behind the scene with the coffee on a farm level. So they actually initially wanted to do a documentary on the farms. And I highly encourage them not to do a movie about me. I've encouraged them to do a movie purely on the producing countries and people over there and their cultures there, everything. And that's how it started. So we went to Ethiopia first, and then we went to Colombia. And eventually, after several months, I said to them, "Hey, I actually have a barista competition. So for the next few months, I'm not gonna be traveling to farms, so we'll need to take a break." And they said, "Barista competition, what's that?" I said, "Well, we compete, we sell espressos, milk base." And they said, "Can we come and record?" Because they live in Melbourne anyway. "Can we come and record Australian barista competition?" I said, "Yep, sure we can." And so they recorded the competition, and I won in Australia. And then they said, "What do we do next?" I said, "Well, I'm not going to be traveling with, on the farms because I have a World Barista Championships now. So I'm just, I'll see you guys in a few months." And they said, "Can we go with you?" I said, "Well, you can. I mean, I can't sponsor you. I don't have finance." But no, that's okay. We'll go by ourselves. So they flew to Seattle as well, and they followed the entire journey in Seattle. And you haven't seen the movie, Dennis, but it was very dramatic in Seattle. And they recorded some of the moments where I was at my absolutely lowest, and emotionally and health-wise to absolutely highest, which was a very nice emotional roller coaster and physical roller coaster as well. So after we won, we were flying back to Australia. So they said to me, "Sash, looks like this movie is not going to be about producers; it's going to be about you." So I think there was a lot of luck to have both of them to follow me during this entire year,
right.
Before preparation and after winning the comp.
Right. Well, I'm excited to see the film, and again, for the people listening, it's The Coffee Man, and search it online. I'll post up the information on my blog as well about how to get to that, and also if people want to follow you on Instagram or whatever, where do they go to?
So Sasa Sestic.
SASHASESTIC. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's SASA.
SASA.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, SASA SESTIC.
Okay.
And,
yeah, great Instagram post. I recommend people follow you there. And I want to thank you so much. Your story is very inspiring as a human journey, having gone through what so many people go through in terms of war-torn areas and having to leave and go to another country and then making a great success of it and then giving back to others. So we congratulate you on all that you've done and wish you great success moving forward into the future.
Thank you very much, Dennis. If I can also add for the end, if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
I've only launched the Coffee Man book about 2 months ago. So it is available on our website. It covers all of my stories at the farms, my detailed journey to WBC. Coffee is 100% non-profit, so all of the sales are going to the coffee farmers. So yeah, we managed to have a very successful campaign in the Kickstarter where we've raised over $76,000. And we have now quite a few coffees to be sold and distributed throughout the world.
Great. And give us your website.
So onacoffee.com.au.
Okay, great. We'll have all that posted up on our blog and
Yes.
podcast. Thank you so very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Great.